Back to where it began. Those were the exact words trending across the internet the moment Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung were spotted together again. Not on a drama set, not at a press event, not surrounded by cameras, but standing quietly along the familiar streets of Yongin, the same neighborhood where Love in the Moonlight filmed some of its most unforgettable scenes. And what made the moment so powerful wasn't that they were seen together. It was what they looked like when they thought nobody was watching. Two people smiling in a way that only happens when you're not acting. Two people walking with steps that fall naturally in rhythm. Two people who carry years of history in one quiet glance. For fans, it felt like everything suddenly rewound. Like time had folded back to 2016. Like all the emotions they buried beneath the years came rushing back in one wave. Bo-gum arrived first, dressed casually, cap, hoodie, hands tucked into his pockets. He looked lighter than he had in months, as though the weight of the industry wasn't pressing so heavily on his shoulders. Yoo-jung arrived a few minutes later, hair tied loosely, wearing no makeup, the kind of appearance she only allows when she's around people she trusts. She didn't need to hide. She didn't need to impress. She just needed to breathe. When she spotted him from a distance, she slowed down, not out of hesitation but out of disbelief, like her mind was asking, "Is this really happening?" And Bo-gum, when he finally noticed her approaching, didn't wave, didn't call her name. He simply smiled. A soft, relieved smile. The smile of someone who had been waiting. Their reunion wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But that quiet moment spoke louder than any scandal, rumor, or headline. They began walking, talking like no time had passed at all. And fans lucky enough to witness it said the body language was unmistakable. Yoo-jung kept looking up at him the same way she used to during interviews, eyes full of admiration, trust, and something softer. And Bo-gum, his gaze held the same gentleness he always reserved only for her. The kind of softness that made the internet once call him the warmest man alive. They paused at the old palace filming site, now closed to the public for renovations. Yoo-jung laughed as she pointed toward the main gate. Bo-gum covered his face with his sleeve as if embarrassed. They were reminiscing about something. Something fans would never hear. Something just for them. A staff member passing by later said both of them kept repeating the words, "Feels just like yesterday." And maybe that was the truth. Some connections don't change with years. Some memories don't fade just because time moves. Some people walk back into your life and you realize you never stopped caring. But what made the moment even more emotional was what happened after. Bo-gum removed his cap and placed it gently on Yoo-jung's head because the wind had started picking up and her hair kept blowing into her face. She froze, startled by the gesture, while he simply adjusted the brim like it was the most natural thing in the world. And Yoo-jung bit her lip, something she always did when trying to hide how touched she felt. By then, fans watching from afar were shaking. Later, the two slipped into a small tea house they used to visit during filming breaks. The owner recognized them immediately. She said Yoo-jung laughed a lot that afternoon, louder and freer than she had in years. And Bo-gum kept leaning slightly forward every time she spoke, as if afraid to miss a single word. Their conversation lasted over an hour. No cameras, no managers, no scripts, just two people finding comfort in something that felt undeniably familiar. Before leaving, Yoo-jung took a photo of Bo-gum standing in front of a lantern display. She held the phone up for a few seconds longer than necessary, teasing him about posing too seriously. And Bo-gum, trying not to smile, finally ended up laughing so hard he turned away. That was the photo fans later claimed resembled a private memory, something only people close to each other would share. They walked out side by side, close but not touching, comfortable but not careless, and yet the space between them felt charged. Not romantic in a dramatic way, but romantic in a real way, in the quiet, steady, unspoken sense. The kind of romance born from history, not headlines. As they reached the parking area, Yoo-jung stopped and said something that made Bo-gum look at her for a long moment. An emotional moment. A moment fans who lip-read swore was something deeper than simple gratitude. Bo-gum then placed a hand on her shoulder, gently, reassuringly, and said a few words that made her blink rapidly, almost emotional. Whatever he told her, it wasn't casual. It meant something. She got into her car, He stood there until she drove away. And when she turned left at the end of the street, Bo-gum stayed still for almost a full minute. Like he wasn't ready for the moment to end. Fans later described him as someone who had just relived a memory he wished he never had to leave behind. News portals picked up the sighting. Social media exploded. Old clips resurfaced. Fan edits flooded timelines. People said it felt like the world had been waiting for this, waiting for them to share the same space again, the same warmth, the same natural, easy connection that started everything years ago. It wasn't a comeback announcement. It wasn't a romantic reveal. It wasn't a fan service moment. It was simply two people, two hearts, returning to a place that once changed their lives. And somehow, it felt like the beginning of something new. Or maybe, just maybe, the continuation of something that never really ended. Back to where it began, Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung's timeless bond leaves fans emotional continues as the two stars slowly step away from the flashing airport cameras, entering the private lounge reserved only for VIP actors. But even behind closed doors, that quiet chemistry between them still lingers, the kind that doesn't need words and doesn't fade with time. The moment the doors shut, Kim Yoo-jung let out a soft breath, as if she had been holding it since the terminal. Park Bo-gum turned slightly toward her, his voice dropping to that gentle tone he always uses when they're not performing. He asked if she was doing okay. She nodded at first, trying to hide her nerves, but then she admitted how overwhelming the crowd had been, how their reunion caused so much attention even though neither of them planned it. Bo-gum smiled, the same warm smile that made viewers fall in love with him years ago. He reminded her that no matter how the world reacts, they have always handled things together. He said that whether on-screen or off-screen, their bond has never broken, just paused like a scene waiting for the next cue. Yoo-jung looked down for a moment, her fingers brushing the hem of her coat, and she confessed something she rarely admits. She told him that seeing him again felt like stepping back into a part of her life she thought she had outgrown, only to realize it wasn't gone, it was simply waiting. She said it felt like yesterday, like the first days of filming when everything was new, exciting, and unexplainably natural. Bo-gum listened, his expression softening as he moved a little closer, not enough to cross a line, but enough to show her he heard every word. He told her that he felt the same, that no matter how many years pass, Yoo-jung always carries a familiar warmth with her. He said she feels like home, and he meant it in a way that only the two of them could understand. Their manager entered briefly, asking if they needed anything, but even he paused, sensing the emotional stillness in the room. It wasn't romance, not exactly. It wasn't nostalgia either. It was something deeper, a connection shaped by years, distance, growth, and the kind of respect that doesn't fade after one drama ends. When they finally moved to their seats to wait for the car, Bo-gum pulled out a small envelope from his coat. Yoo-jung looked surprised. He told her it was something he'd kept for years, something from the last day of filming, something he never had the chance to give her properly. A handwritten note. She hesitated before opening it, her hands trembling slightly. Inside, the message was simple but powerful. He wrote that working with her changed his life, that she inspired him in ways she never realized, and that he hoped the world would one day see the woman she was becoming. Yoo-jung teared up quietly, and Bo-gum reached out instinctively, gently wiping the corner of her eye. She told him that she also kept something from their past, a small Polaroid photo they took during a break on set. It wasn't planned or posed. It was natural, just them. She still kept it in her diary all these years. Bo-gum laughed softly, touched that she held onto it for so long. Before they left the lounge, Yoo-jung looked at him and said something that seemed to close the gap between their past and present. She told him that some connections don't fade, no matter how long they are apart. She said maybe theirs was one of them. Bo-gum nodded, agreeing quietly. When they stepped outside into the private exit, fans were still waiting at a distance. Cameras clicked the moment they appeared again, walking side by side. But something was different now. Something had shifted. Their steps were a little closer. Their glances were a little softer. Their smiles hinted at a story the public didn't know yet. Fans captured the exact moment when Bo-gum instinctively reached out to steady Yoo-jung as she stepped over a slippery patch. It was subtle, but the kind of subtle that sends the internet into chaos. That single moment went viral instantly, sparking thousands of comments, millions of views, and endless debates. Were they just old friends reconnecting? Or was there something deeper that time couldn't erase? Only they knew for sure. But to everyone watching, one thing was clear. Their bond didn't just begin years ago. It never truly ended. And this time, it felt like something new was beginning right where everything once started.